Hi, Andy again. Let's talk about capital gains on selling your primary residence. As you can find the link below, I did a previous video about more detail about the capital gain exclusion from selling your home. I want to talk today about something a little more particular, specifically if you are, let's say, at risk of having a gain on your house because it's gone up a lot in value. I received a question from someone asking, well, should I sell my house now, take advantage of the capital gain exclusion I can have, then buy a new house and in effect start over with the the capital gain on that house going forward. So for example, if you're single, you can exclude up to $250,000 of gain from the sale on your primary residence so long as you owned and lived in that house as your primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years prior to the date of sale. If you're married and file a joint return, you can exclude $500,000 of gain if you owned and lived in the house for 2 out of the last 5 years prior to the date of sale. So I got a question the other day. Someone was asking, we've owned a house for a while. House prices have gone up a lot throughout most of the country. And they're getting close to, at the current market price of the house, they're getting close to having $500,000 of gain if they were to sell the house. And the person said they plan on selling in the next 5 to 10 years anyway. So the question was, if I sit and stay in this house on the assumption it's going to keep going up in price, I will eventually be over the $500,000 exclusion and will have to pay tax on at least some amount of the gain of selling the house. So the person asked, should I just sell my house now while I will not yet be at $500,000 of gain, have the sale be completely tax-free, and then buy a new house and then start over? So if you buy the new house at, just to pick even numbers, $1 million, then if and when you eventually sell that house, it'll have to be over $1.5 million of sale to have $500,000 gain on that. So basically the question or possible strategy is keep selling a house every time you're about to hit $500,000 of gain for a married couple, buy a new house and kind of start over. So in theory, that could work. There's a few flaws with it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Not to say you can't, but there's a few drawbacks. One is you're assuming prices will always go up. Now, over the long term, sure, I think that's a decent assumption to make, but don't assume, this is just my guess, don't assume house prices will continue the pace of increase we've had over the last few years. I can't quite explain why or know exactly when the bubble's gonna, not to say it's a bubble necessarily, but I can't pin my finger on when house prices will stop or revert back down, but I have to believe this trend is gonna stop at some point. Maybe they won't come crashing down, maybe they won't drop at all, but they'll at least hopefully, presumably plateau in prices and increases will stop. Now, not to say there won't be pockets of the country that'll have their own unique increases or decreases for whatever reasons are, jobs moving in, what have you. But anyway, to assume house prices will always only go up, that may be a bad assumption to make. Even if they do, this is one of those scenarios where I feel like selling a house, your primary residence, just to get around having to pay tax on a gain is sort of like the tax tail wagging the dog type thing. So yes, you can, by doing this, get out of the house and, sell it before you do have a gain and then move into a new house, but it's not that simple. There's other costs and hassle, if nothing else, involved in selling a primary residence, buying a new one, moving into it. If nothing else, you have the realtor commissions. Assuming average realtor commission is 5%, every time you sell a house, you're skimming 5% off the value right there. So there's that cost. There's the other general moving costs, closing costs, legal fees to buy and sell. Many states have a realty transfer tax when you sell a house that you have to pay. And then the nonsense nickel and dime recording fees, FedEx fees, things like that. Not that those are a lot, but still, there are costs associated with it, is my point. When you buy a new house, there's transfer search and title insurance you have to get, things like that. And then moving. There's the cost of getting movers. That's a few $1,000s, depending on how much you're moving and where you're going. But even just the hassle of having to move a house you've lived in, especially if it's been a while, packing up, shipping, unloading, setting up a new house. So add that all together. Is it really worth it for something that isn't even certain anyway? It's not even certain your house will have a gain, especially if the housing market cools or turns. So for those reasons, I'd say generally no, don't do this. Let me sell my house strictly to avoid a potential taxable gain. But everyone's situation is different. Not to say it couldn't make sense for you or may not be the right, or can't be the right move in hindsight. But I would say do not let this capital gain thing drive your decision of when and why you sell a primary residence. That's it. Again, check below for the video I did with more detail about this capital gain exclusion. I think you'll find that very helpful. This was just a specific circumstance in this video that I want to talk about selling to try to avoid that gain. That's all. Take care. Thank you.